Hello everyone. Today I will be recommending and not recommending several 3DS games. And I have pretty much the same amount of 3DS games as I do PS Vita games, except I have a few more. So without further ado, let's get started with Shantae and the Pirate's Curse. Now this game is like the other Shantae game, except it's more of an adventure game where I think you could choose the which place to go to, and it's basically the same sort of game, a classic 2D side-scroller made by WayForward, but it's a really good one. I haven't completed it yet because it's actually difficult, but still recommend it. Now this one's a sort of a mixed recommendation. This one is the unknown sequel to, or as some know it, as a sequel to Fatal Frame, Spirit Camera, The Cursed Memoir. Now this is basically a first-person on-rails Fatal Frame game where you take pictures of ghosts and try to exorcise them if you didn't know what Fatal Frame was. Now, if you want to buy this game, like if you're lucky enough to find it, like I found it for $40, even like a year after it was released. Now, if you're going to get this game, it has to come with this booklet that the 3DS scans. And when you're playing this game, the 3DS has to scan all these different kinds of pictures, which are pretty creepy and pretty cool to look at. And you'll even use it as like a puzzle solving thing where you have to find this little boy in this book while looking like going through it, and aware of advice is that you should play it in a really well lit room because it won't scan the pictures if you're in the dark. Like it doesn't see that well. So if you like Fatal Frame, then get this game just for kicks. Or if you like regular horror or like the occultish type horror, then definitely get Spirit Camera. Or if you're up for something now. Now right here is the Resident Evil games that came out for the 3DS. Resident Evil Mercenaries 3 is just the regular Mercenaries game that you got on Resident Evil 4, 5, and 6, except it's just condensed into this little cartridge. And there's not much to say about it except that if someone's already played it, then their save data is already there. So you'll have most of the stuff unlocked or whatever they unlocked. And it also has a little demo for the next game, which is Resident Evil Revelations, which is in fact a better game than Resident Evil 4 and 5 and 6. It's more of like a mashup between Resident Evil 2, 3, and 4. Like it brings the horror of the series and it takes the action of Resident Evil 4 and then just makes it a really good game. This is definitely a game that you definitely want to buy if you're into horror and Resident Evil. Here is Centipede Infestation. And if you don't know what Centipede is, then you should definitely play like the old Centipede on the piece on like a PC, like just find it for free and see if you like that, and then play this. It's basically an upgraded version where you can move around and you got upgrades, like better upgrades and stuff. And there's this little story about this guy saving this girl from something, and they're trying to plant gardens to help the earth repopulate itself with plants and everything so it can be saved. It's this weird environmental story that doesn't really take itself too seriously, but it's something, I guess. Next right here is Senran Kagura Deep 2, Deep Crimson. Now, contrary to the other two Senran Kagura games, this one's a 2D side-scroller version. And it's a bit difficult than the other two, but also it's more closer to the actual first Senran Kagura, which is a 2D game. I mean, I like the 3D ones, but if you're a fan of Senran Kagura or Dynasty Warriors type games, then you should definitely buy this one. Right here is Corpse Party, the original one remade on the 3DS. and this one has a few more endings. And it came in this box right here, which had the soundtrack and the two little figurines of the characters. It's alright, like if you like Corpse Party and short puzzle solving horror games. And not much to say about it. It's a real mixed bag. That's why it's like a cult hit, and why the first game is finally being released over here in the United States. Now up next is the Adventure Time games. All made by WayForward. I think this one was made by Little Orbit though. I mean, it's basically like the other Adventure Times games. These are all essentially Zelda games. This one copies Zelda 2 from the NES. This one's more like a 3D isometric Zelda. And this one is like this one, except this one's more open world. So definitely buy this one and this one as well. Because this one over here is pretty average. Like I say average because I bought this twice. Once for PlayStation 3 and once for 3DS because I really like Adventure Time. And it came in this nice BMO case, which I don't think I have over here. But still buy it if you like Adventure Time and Zelda games. Now right here is Spider-Man Edge of Time for 3DS. Now this is a completely average Spider-Man game. Like you go from point A to point B, you might solve puzzles, there's a lot of action rooms, and then the story is kind of okay, I guess. A lot of people like it, but it's very meh. Instead, I recommend more of the older Spider-Man games. What was it called? With the other four Spider-Man, I can't remember, but I'll definitely show you it when I show you my Wii game collection. But average at best. Buy it if you're curious. I got this for like 12 bucks, so it shouldn't be that hard to find or that expensive. Next is Star Fox 64 3D. It's basically Star Fox 64 except with updated graphics. There's also gyro controls where you use the 3DS to like move the aircraft around, but it's very weird. So definitely play this if you like aircraft simulator or like aircraft fighting games. I wish they put like the Star Wars Rogue Squadron on the 3DS or some other console since we really need a new one. Right here, also by WayForward. Well, that one's by WayForward, but I got a lot of WayForward games. This one is regular show. Mordecai and Rigby in 8-Bit Land. It is just a simple side-scrolling game with like a Mario type map, if you can see it. And it's incredibly average for some reason. It's still fun to play and difficult, but it has little to no story. There's just the beginning cutscene and the end cutscene, and that's it. Decent game, but still I wish there was more to it. Right here is Theatrhythm. I think that's how you say it. Theatrhythm Final Fantasy. It's a rhythm-based Final Fantasy game where all your favorite Final Fantasy characters are in chibi mode, and they just go on an adventure while Final Fantasy music plays. I'd only recommend it if you like the Final Fantasy music, which is very good. But if you're not too into it or like Final Fantasy, then you won't like it. But if you like Monster Hunter, you like Final Fantasy Explorers, which is basically what it is. You create your own character. You have several classes to choose from. You can play as the other characters like Cloud and Lightning. I don't know why you want to play as her though, but it's a decent game. Up next is Hyrule Warriors Legends, a Dynasty Warriors game with Zelda plastered on it, and it goes through several of the Zelda stories. I forgot which one, like New Wind Waker and Link's storylines. Yeah, it's been a while since I played this one. It was definitely a decent game, but it kind of got like slowed down a bit since there's so much on the game. it was like a Wii U console game first, and then they just shrinked it down into a 3DS version, which is weird. And now up next is the only Zelda game that I like, um, besides Hyrule Warriors. Like I had this weird vendetta against Zelda since back when I was like 3 or 4 years old. I played Zelda Ocarina of Time, and I didn't like it because I could barely read during then, and I just kept hitting my wall against hitting my head against everything to just keep moving forward, and it's pretty repetitive. And I didn't like it that much, obviously. But I tried playing it again, but for some reason, my feelings from back then came back to me, and I couldn't really stomach playing it. But this game is really good. I like the isometric Zeldas definitely more than the 3D ones. I like the puzzle solving, I like the little story bits, I like how there's two different worlds to go through. And definitely a great game to start out, definitely a great Zelda game to start out on if you're unfamiliar with Zelda or if you don't really like them at all. Right here is Dead or Alive Dimensions, like a 3D, 2D style fighting game. Now, if you haven't played Dead or Alive or Virtua Fighter Tekken, this is a pretty good starting out point since the fighting controls are really good. The maps are very interactive. All the characters have their own personality and moveset that you definitely like. Like I'm not too much into fighting games, but this is definitely a really good game. Now I have a bunch of Shin Megami Tensei games up next. First up is Devil Survivor Overclocked. Now this game I didn't complete, but it's very good. Like I like how you collect demons like you do in some of the other Shin Megami Tensei games. But I don't know, I like this game for its characters and like just the way it is. Like it reminds me more of Persona than it does like regular Shin Megami Tensei. Over here is Devil Summoner Soul Hackers. It's similar to the other Shin Megami Tensei games. I haven't played it all that much since I found it to be pretty average. But if you like Shin Megami Tensei games or like Atlas RPGs, then you'll like it. I think so at least. Over here, Shin Megami Tensei 4. Kind of on the level as the other Shin Megami Tensei games I was talking about. But I like the sort of seriousness that it has, and the art style is definitely great. And the setting, just general stuff like that. Those games are actually pretty difficult. Like way more difficult than I thought it'd be, especially since I started on Persona 4 and I played that game on like beginner or like the hard or like the easiest difficulty. And I expected them to have like an easy difficulty for the game, but I could barely get it. And speaking about easy and difficult games, you have Persona Q, Shadow of the Labyrinth, which is a crossover game between Persona 3 and Persona 4 with like little chibi characters, and it's an isometric type dungeon crawler similar to the other Shin Megami Tensei games, except it has a bunch of Persona 3 and Persona 4 fan service, and I don't mean like perversions and stuff like that, even though you can date all of like the girls and stuff as like either as the Persona 3 main character or Persona 4 main character. And it's a really cool game actually. But the thing I was talking about with it being an easy, difficult game is that you can have it on beginner and you can die as many times as you want during a battle, and then it'll just revive you instantly. But also, it's a very difficult game, and definitely the best part about it is that all the Persona 3 and Persona 4 callbacks to those games and how like you see the different characters interacting with each other. It's more of a fan game than it. It's like more of a game made for the fans than anything. Over here is Code of Princess, a 2D style Golden Axe, I'd say, style game. I say Golden Axe because of the girl in like the bikini armor similar to Tyra's Flare, but it's a very good game if you like 2D style, like old 2D style games like Streets of Rage and Golden Axe. You'll definitely like this one if you like that one. Over here is the two Project X Zone games, RPGs that are mixed with high style action and like timing. Like once you go into the battle with a character, you have to use several different preset uh, attacks that your party of 2 or 3 characters go through. Like it's difficult to talk about, and it's more fun to watch than anything. Like you see all the over the top animations, and then you get your fill. And you could also see like the cutscenes, which are all fan service for fans of like Capcom's, Sega, and Namco games. Except they don't have Pac-Man or Sonic in these games for some reason. The one thing that you think Sega would automatically go to, they don't have in this game, and that's very odd. Right here is Castlevania Lords of Shadow Mirror of Fate, and this is more of a classic 2D style Castlevania game, which are my favorites. And it's a bit difficult, like all Castlevania games are, but not too much. I definitely recommend it for people who like the older Castlevanias and Metroidvania style games. Over here is Super Mario 3D Land, and it's more meant for fans of casual style games. Like it was really easy to go through the first time, but the extra levels are definitely more difficult. And you'd like this game if you like Super Mario Galaxy or Super Mario 64. Not much to say about it, just another little fun Mario game. Now up next is Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo 3DS. And it's Super Smash Brothers on the 3DS. That's all I can really say about it. Nothing else to say except it's fun to play with a bunch of other people. Like for one semester or like 3 semesters of college, me and my friends would always bring our 3DSs to college, and we just play this nonstop, along with playing like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. Over here is Shinobi by Sega. Like I don't think many people know about this game or like the Shinobi series by Sega. It's a 2D style platformer. You just go from left to right, killing ninjas and everything like that. Kind of like Ninja Gaiden, except made by Sega, I guess is the best way I can explain it. It gets extremely difficult, especially during the end. You definitely like this game if you like old, like Genesis style games. I know I really liked it. Like the final boss was like, oh my god, that was so incredibly difficult. I died like 50 times on it. Next up is all these Pokemon games. Pokemon Omega Ruby, Pokemon Moon, Pokemon X. Now these are actually my favorite Pokemon games because you get to create your character, and that's essentially it. And the Mega Evolutions, they don't really add that much to the Pokemon formula, which they just recycle over and over again. But it's extremely fun to play still. Like, to casually play. Like, you get home from work or school or whatever, you come home, you play Pokemon, and then you're fine. Right? Over here is Pokemon. I'm leaving the outtakes in. So right here is Sonic Generations, 2D style Sonic games, Sonic at its best. If you like Sonic Colors, Sonic Rush for like the Sonic Rush series for DS, and old classic Sonic, you'll love these Sonic games. I know I did. Played through the entire game in one. I think I've played that game like 5 times already, especially like the console version. Over here, we have a mixed bag. We have the Transformers games. Now up first is Transformers Dark of the Moon Stealth Force Edition. I got all the Transformers games just because I love Transformers. Like Starscream is my favorite, and so is Grimlock. Now the Stealth Force Edition of this game is the Transformers just are in this Twisted Metal style mode for the cars, except it's not as good as Twisted Metal at all. it really sucks, to be honest. You shouldn't play that one at all. Next, here is Transformers Prime, the game. The decent third-person shooter game. And there's nothing much to say about it, except it's decent. If you like Transformers Prime, if you like Transformers in general, and you just want to spend like a couple bucks on some random Transformers game, there you go. But if you want to spend a couple bucks on a Transformers game and really like it, right here is Transformers Rise of the Darkspark, a RPG style isometric game made by WayForward, so you know it's a really good game. And what's there to really say about it except like it's a really good game. Look up, I think it's a CGR Undertows review of it. Like he does a really good job of explaining it and showing it, or I think it was Classic Game Room who made a review of it. Anyways, like it takes place in the War for Cybertron universe, and it has the same story as the console version of Rise of the Darkspark, except this game is good, and definitely one of the better Transformers games that was based off a movie. So I hope that was informative and it helped. And thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.